Hello and welcome into another video, and annoyingly I've just recorded this and it was actually going really well. I was really happy with what I'd said, but my microphone just decided to start flickering and then slowly it cut off completely, and because of the fact that it was flickering, I honestly don't think any of the footage is going to be usable. But anyway, welcome into another episode, and today's episode is essentially going to be I put a video up recently saying about how games change and everything and don't half change, and we sometimes may not realize just how much they've changed. But people also change, humans change, and I know there's a lot of people out there who really dislike this, and some people even fight against it and try their best to keep things back to what usually tends to be bigotry, racism related reasons of when things were simpler, when I was allowed to like say slurs and not get like consequences for my awful actions type thing. But as much as there are a lot of people who dislike change and try to actively fight against it, and there's loads of different ways to do that. I mean, I'm autistic. I always hated the idea of change growing up because it was never actually explained very well to me. I truly don't think neurotypicals do explain change well at all, and that's not what I'm going to get into here. If you are autistic and you are also in this vein and you haven't figured that out or it hasn't been explained to you, then I apologise, because I understand you might be wanting me to delve into that, and maybe I could find a way to actually discuss it in a video. But I just don't feel change is actually explained particularly well from people at all, because it tends to be actually a lot of weird minor things that we don't even really notice. And that's why I'm here with Mario Galaxy 2, because when Mario Galaxy came out, I'm not the biggest Wii fan at all. I've got plenty of videos up on my channel where I'm kind of shitting all over Wii games. I don't really have any love or nostalgia for the Wii era. It was kind of the worst era of Nintendo for me. I even preferred the Wii U, because at least the Wii U started to make good games again. It's just, it was a terrible console with horrible hardware, where the gamepad was dead every single time I used it. Even if I kept it on charge, it felt like the battery on it was just terrible. So I never liked the Wii era. I wasn't exactly the biggest fan of any of the games that came out, be it the Mario Karts, the Marios, the Zeldas, just anything like that. I just was not a fan of at all. Mario Galaxy is one of those games that's absolutely beloved by so many people, and pretty much the only things I can say I really enjoyed about it were the music and the visuals at the time. I hated all of the gimmicky motion control crap, because that was just the console in a nutshell. It meant that I could never just sit and relax while playing. I constantly had to be sitting in a state of just, I guess, readiness is the way to put it, and it meant it was really difficult for me to actually chill and relax to a game. And I found maybe 20 to 30 of the 120 stars to be mildly challenging. I think maybe 10 of them to be actually challenging, and I enjoyed maybe half of them, getting half of them. I've never been the biggest 3D Mario fan to begin with. I don't like going into a mission, level, whatever you want to say, and retracing my steps over and over and over again. And it turns out I cannot for the life of me actually focus on doing the upside down thing while I'm talking, so I'm going to very quickly exit this galaxy. Annoying again, because I didn't have these problems the first time I did it, but I was like, you know what, I'll play a different map, because even though you would see that, I've just replayed it, so why would I want to do that? Maybe I should have stuck to just replaying the same one, but anyway. I found it barely any of them actually fun or enjoyable or challenging or anything, and I wasn't the biggest fan. And Galaxy 2 came out, and pretty much Galaxy 2, everyone was saying, yeah, this is the game Galaxy 1 should have been. It's cut all of the story or everything, which the story is kind of a funny one, because Miyamoto infamously hated the fact that they added story to the game, and now there's a Mario Galaxy movie out. And the Mario Galaxy movie is basically all the story of everything that was set up with Rosalina. But, like I've kind of started the video with, people change. And clearly Miyamoto has also changed and realised that maybe actually creating Rosalina and doing an actual story in a Mario game was a good idea. And the fact that we got Mario Odyssey, which I absolutely love, it's one of my favourite games of all time. It's the first... right, how to put this, because 3D Mario is 3D Land and 3D World to me. Those are actual 3D Mario. Those are Mario games in 3D. So then you have 3D Mario, which is 64 Sunshine, Galaxy 1, Galaxy 2, and kinda Odyssey, because Odyssey is like a culmination of all of that, but it plays so much better and actually feels like Mario. So it's the first 3D Mario I actually truly love. But anyway, going back to Galaxy, which is the whole point. I'm now struggling to remember how to swim. It's the B button. So Galaxy 2 came out, everyone was raving about it, saying it's what Galaxy 1 should have been. It's just a finer, more controlled version. It's like everything's better, it's like the levels are better, and it's just one of those things. It improves on the challenge, it improves on everything. No, I didn't see it, I didn't feel it, I wasn't happy at all with the game. I have a review up now that pissed off a lot of people because I kind of genuinely hated the game. I just couldn't get into it whatsoever. I didn't find it difficult whatsoever either, because I know gameplay footage is always one of those things. Whenever I bring up the fact that I'm good at games, it can piss people off, because firstly, how dare I bring up that I'm good at something that I put a shit ton of time in, and second up, my gameplay footage, I'm clearly bad at games. No, I'm very distracted doing 14 things at once while I do a video, and it's my own fault. I could actually record B-roll footage where I'm actually being amazing in a game and then splice it in with editing and everything, but that's so much work and effort for someone who's chronically ill and trying to do this as a hobby. I'd rather just record while I'm playing, and it means that you do get videos where I'm playing like shit for a lot of the time. It's very rare that I can actually play something that I'm good enough at that I can do all of this. So I understand that might be alien when I'm saying I didn't find the first game difficult and I found the second game even easier, and I'm making these basic jumps look difficult. I understand how that might come off, but I truly did not find the game difficult at all. I got to a point where I bounced so early I didn't even finish Mario Galaxy 2, and I know there might be people going, so how did you review it? Well, it's literally, even now that I have actually fully finished this game, my review, I'd say my review stands, but that's the whole point of why I'm actually making this. My reviewing style still stood, because that was a game that I really did not need to 100% to actually be able to, you know, like, get the full tell of, because nothing changes between the first Galaxy and the last Galaxy. Like, the gameplay is still the same, and some of the problems and annoyances I had were still very much the same, which is, one of the things that drove me the most mad. And the fact that they didn't even fix it in the second one really got to me, because it was a known problem with the first one. The camera and the gravity and the way that all of that works is just genuinely so annoying that the amount of times you'll just spin around in a fucking circle because the gravity doesn't understand which way it's supposed to be pointing, and neither does the camera. So Mario just constantly, now that I've done this and it should be safe for me to do it, I don't know if I can easily set it up, but essentially you just get stuck running around in that circle like that. And it doesn't matter what direction you hold, you have to stop actually running, you have to stop holding a direction, you have to let go and then start again for it to figure it out. And in a precision platformer, the amount of times that would actually get me hit and get me, not so much killed, but it would really fuck up a run, because especially if I'm doing some of the later stuff where it is actually hard, where you've got like one hit to do something, that can feel a run right there on the challenge, and that's not a good form of challenge. That's a fucking infuriating experience of, what the fucking hell, your Nintendo, you're supposed to do better than this. So there were a lot of things that I really didn't like the control of, all of that. And then when you add in Yoshi was even worse and even more difficult to control, I felt, in this game. It was unnecessarily so. And I know there's a lot of venting here, and trust me when I'm saying I really wish that the microphone hadn't fucked up, because I do actually think I'd got to this a lot better the first time. But I know there's a lot of venting here, but there is a twist coming, and kind of the whole point of how people change. So I just didn't enjoy it. Have had decades of people saying that it's one of the greatest be-all, end-all Mario experiences, and I'm like, I just do not see it. But about 20 years on from the first Galaxy, they obviously decided to redo Galaxy 1 and 2 for the Switch, and I was at a point in my life where I was in severe pain, and I've not so much mellowed on easy games, but I've realised that sometimes when I'm in absolute extreme agony, I need games where they're so easy I can actually play them without thinking. I mean, point in case, I'm literally kind of playing this without thinking, and I completely forgot that because I hadn't picked up the cloud, I'm going to sink straight through that like a stone. So I need games that I can play it without thinking. And don't get me wrong, I am also a weird juxtaposition of things where sometimes I actually will play the likes of Elden Ring while I'm in severe pain, because Elden Ring to me is kind of easy. But for the most part, Mario games are stupendously simplistic. They're something that I can easily put on. It doesn't matter how much pain I'm in, I can just sit there and focus on it, and I'll be okay enough to be able to play it. And I was in a horrific pain spell when 1 and 2 came out, and I was playing 1, and then my ceiling completely fucked up. And I do mean the actual physical real-life ceiling here. There was a bunch of storms, and I started to get a leak directly over my bed, and it was awful. And again, the whole autism, changing all of my routine and everything, I had to change where I was sleeping. I was in a bed that was not built for me at all, my size or anything. It was some of the worst sleep I've had in a long time, and I was in this basically storage room type thing where everything was piled up and there was just nowhere to actually stretch or do anything. So I was confined to a very small bed all day for weeks, and it sucked. And the only thing that I had with me, that I was able to take with me, was the Switch 2. So I sat and I played through all of Galaxy 2 on the Switch 2 in handheld mode, which control-wise made things even worse, because the fact that they've tried to actually address some of the controls, and it still has some of this weird motion stuff, and I have to, like, sit, like, I mean, I'm currently obviously moving the star here to prove a point, but the fact that you have to sit, like, really still, or this just moves around, but at least this isn't really in the way, and it still constantly lisks around lazily to the left. I don't know why. The amount of times that I'll sit and suddenly it'll just start scanning to the left and I have to reset, and scanning to the left and I have to reset, even though I haven't moved the controller at all. It was absolutely maddening. But I played through the entire thing, because it's kind of all I had to do. I would sit and I'd play that while I was listening to podcasts. I didn't really get to focus on the music because I had headphones on and a laptop so that I could actually do other things and listen to podcasts and stuff like that while I'm playing. It's definitely not the optimal experience, but I finally got to the point where I played through, and obviously I haven't 100%ed it yet because I've got all the green stars to get, and I don't know if I want to get the green stars. I don't know if I enjoy the game enough to get all of the green stars, because of the whole point is you have to replay all of these levels and you have to look for all of the stars in places where they might be, and it's like, I don't know if I have the patience to do that, and I don't know if I want to look up a guide or anything where I just go into every level and do them, because that's still going to take a lot of time, because Nintendo and their infinite wisdom did a lot of annoyances, like making it so that you can't just load from one to another still. This is, again, when going into a galaxy over and over and over and over again becomes an issue and something that genuinely annoys me. But it is what it is. And again, there is some positives here, because, yeah, I want to actually see that I don't so much get it. I'm not going to sit here and say I've completely changed my mind. I can't, like, I've went from absolutely being unable to stand the game to, like, thinking it's one of the greatest games ever. I still don't, but it does have some really good moments. It's still definitely an easier game overall. I personally find it easier than the first one. I don't understand how people say it's difficult. First up, they added checkpoints to all of the levels, so that alone has severely reduced the difficulty. But second up, it seems like the only actual difficult thing is the thing that you get from doing all of these stars, and that's why I kinda want to play it, because I want to actually see what the difficult thing is. But for the most part, if you were good at the first game, there's nothing really here that was, like, severely taxing. Again, out of the 120 stars, I found maybe 10 of them to be genuinely challenging, 20 of them to be mildly challenging, and the rest of them were kind of just there. I did enjoy, I think, more of them overall than I was expecting, and maybe more than the first game. But at the same time, I still do not get a load of the hype. But just in 20 years, and I know that sounds like a lot of time, and it is a lot of time, but just in 20 years, I've been able to go from I don't even want to play this game to, it's not nostalgia, it truly isn't. I truly do not like the Wii era at all, and don't want, I honestly at this moment in time cannot think of a single Wii game that I want remade. And if I do want it remade, I can almost guarantee it'll be, I want it remade, but without any of the bullshit controls, and I just want to be able to play the game normally. And they've so far not managed to do that, because it must be so integrally built in, or maybe it's just their vision and it's like, no, we still stand by this, because the Zelda Skyward Sword remake, yeah, the controls aren't that motiony, but I still don't like them. Everything they've done to actually quote-unquote fix it, I can't stand. I don't like using the right analog for my sword instead of my camera, and you can use the right analog as a camera, but only if you hold down a button. So it's like, why not make that the camera and then make it hold down the button to use the sword? Because trust me, I use the camera a hell of a lot more than I use the sword, because the sword only comes into play in combat, whereas the camera, I need it the whole time I'm, maneuvering around an action-adventure game like Zelda is. Yeah, that's a side rant though. But yeah, I've definitely changed though as a gamer, because there truly is a time when I would never have went back to this, and I truly never did expect to go back to it, but it came out, and it was just a right place, right time. It was a case of I needed something to be able to play while I was in a pain spell, add in the fact that I then only had my Switch with me, and I needed something that I felt I'd be able to play in handheld mode, and ultimately, what I actually envisioned was that because I knew this would still have the bullshit waggle controls and everything, and you can actually use the Joy-Con in that way, I figured if I have to play this in handheld mode, maybe I'd be better off putting it as a dock, like putting it with the kickstand out and using the motion controls like that. And actually, no, I ended up using the whole thing as actual handheld mode, and using Yoshi was a nightmare. That's the only times that... This is why when I say some of the stars were difficult, I have to kind of remember to myself, okay, was it difficult because of the control setup I was using, or was it actually difficult? And there was one Bowser's Castle where I was playing as Yoshi, and using Yoshi in handheld mode is abhorrent. It's just one of the worst controlling things I've played on a handheld ever. It just didn't work the amount of times, and I almost broke and gave up and used the Joy-Con as Joy-Con, but I was like, you know what, no, I'm just gonna persist, because I do feel I'm slowly getting better, and I did eventually do it. But yeah, doing all of the flipping from point to point to point with Yoshi's tongue and pointing the stars whilst in handheld mode and trying to actually keep seeing and angling yourself the whole time, again, it's not at all a control set that you can actually sit and relax with at all. But I was able to do it, and yeah, I've actually, for the first time ever, I had some fun with Mario 2. Well, Mario Galaxy 2. And that is something I never, ever expected. And I've noticed over the years, I've found other games as well that I never would have played and never would have enjoyed. And now I'm like, you know what, I can actually get into this. But at the same time, and I know this is going to be a long video, but there's then also the issues that I used to adore playing real-time strategy games, Command & Conquer, StarCraft, anything like that. I used to play Theme Hospital and Theme Park and SimCities. I used to, well, to be fair, I was never a big fan of SimCity, but I was able to play it. I did still try to play it. But all of those genres like that, my ADHD's got to a point now where I cannot at all play those sorts of games. I get so bored, I lose focus so fast. Even if I'm listening to a podcast, I end up sitting there thinking, I'm just listening to a podcast here. So if I'm just listening to a podcast here and I want to actually play a game, why would I be playing this game? I need to play something else while I listen to this podcast, because I want to play a game, not just listen to a podcast. And it sucks that as I've gained certain abilities as a gamer, and I've gained the ability to appreciate easier games, I will enjoy a Kirby game a lot more now than I enjoyed it back then, because back then I did not at all ever want an easy game. And it wasn't even a case of that I didn't get headaches or migraines or anything. I still did, but I still could not appreciate an easy game, and I was like, these are just not for me. The easy games are just not my jam, they're not my vibe, they're for someone else. And I didn't ever expect to get to a point where I'd want an easy game. I just truly didn't. And then suddenly it hit me, you know what? As much as I love challenging games, and as much as I like to actually play things like that are going to tax me and going to take longer than an hour to actually get through. Obviously, Mario Galaxy doesn't take an hour to beat. I'm just using that as hyperbole. But at the same time, I was just like, I never wanted to get into them. I always wanted difficult things. I always wanted things that were going to last me. I then realised very quickly, about 3 or 4 years ago, you know what? going from 100-hour game that's brutally difficult to 100-hour game that's brutally difficult to 100-hour game that's brutally difficult, I'm not really getting any relaxation time. I'll like get into a flow state where the game is kicking my ass, and then finally I'll get to a point where I'm good at the game. And that flow state will enter maybe 20 hours from the end, and I'll get like maybe a little bit of time where I'm kind of relaxing, and then I'm jumping straight into something else that's going to kick my ass. And it was actually getting to the point where I was struggling to think of what game I wanted to start. And this still happens all the time, where I'm like, I've just finished that, do I really want to start something else like that? And then suddenly it started to dawn on me, this is why people play some easy games, I think. And I started to do it, and sure enough, I was like, you know what? I'm kind of having a lot of fun, because I don't need to be challenged here. I actually want the opposite. I've just been through the challenging thing. That side of me's placated. I want to just play something for the fun of it, and for me, difficulty and overcoming challenge is actually a lot of the fun of it. So it's always been why I never thought I'd get into easy games. Because I'm like, why would I want to play that when I don't find that fun? Turns out, because when you're in a burnout from difficult games, playing something easy is actually kind of fun. Playing something where you don't struggle every single moment of the day is actually kind of weirdly fun. And you'll still get little things, and you'll still get that point where you make silly mistakes, and there's a game that I put on one time, and I was actually talking to a friend at the same time, and they were watching me. And I was getting my ass kicked constantly. And I'm like, this isn't even, like, difficult. I don't understand this. I've beat Marika, the Blade of Miquella, so many times. And they're like, oh my god, yeah, I know you've beat Marika, the Blade of Miquella, so many times. And, like, she's evil. She's awful. She's, like, really difficult. And I've barely beat her, and you've beat her so many fucking times. I know fine well you are a better gamer than this. What the hell's going on? And it's like, I don't know. I seem to be broken today, and I cannot do this one simple thing. And I took like 5 minutes, took a breath, and then locked in, and suddenly baited. And I was like, yeah, it turns out I can actually still lock in on command, but I was just constantly failing and dying over and over again on something simple. And I actually started to have fun with it, because I started to laugh about the fact that I know I'm a better gamer than this. Why can't I beat you? What the hell? It was kind of like a weird white whale moment, but I didn't get obsessed with it. I was just like, I know fine well I have the skill set to be able to do this. I'm just clearly not trying. And I'm clearly not trying because I'm clearly having fun just messing about. And when I used to actually play Destiny a lot, that is ultimately what my my clan landed upon. And this is what started to help me realise it. We would play through the raids so many times that we were so bored that eventually we were just like, you know what? We're going to start doing challenge runs. We're going to do primaries only. None of us use heavy weapons. None of us use secondary weapons. We only use primary weapons. And then it was a case of, we don't find, well, arc burn... Well, arc is the actual element, really helps in this section. So we're going to limit ourselves to only using void and solar. It's just things like that. But anyway, I've completely gone full waffle here and ramble. And I know fine well I have. I am still a little annoyed that the microphone messed up, but all of that's gone now. It'll never come back, and this was the attempt at trying to get it back, and it was different. And maybe in a video all about change, this is kind of one of those beautiful moments of, yep, the game plan changed, but I still managed to get the video done, get it out, and hopefully something's been helpful here, and something has been at least enjoyable, because this is one of those weird ones. I know it is. It's definitely a weird video. It's not exactly like I'm coming up with unique ideas here. And I know this, fully know this. I'm bringing up things that other people have. But that, again, is part of life, where we bring up our own shared experiences. And maybe I'm saying something that you have actually heard a million times before, but I'm saying it in a different way that suddenly something clicks with you. And maybe this will allow you to go back and give a game a chance that you really hated, because your tastes have changed and you haven't realised it. Because that's the thing about all of this. It is so gradual that sometimes you don't even realise it. I genuinely, for the longest time, would tell people I am a huge real-time strategy fan. I would constantly bring that up. I'm just like, oh my god, yeah, I love Command and Conquer. I love StarCraft, and then people would bring up a mission, and it's like, okay, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't actually get to that mission in StarCraft 2 because I hit an hour-long mission and I failed the hour-long mission and I just never went back to it. And now I've realised it's been like 12 years. I think it's been 12 years. And maybe I'm just never getting back to it, because if I haven't actually played a real-time strategy game in over a decade, am I actually a real-time strategy fan? I mean, I can be a lapsed fan, and maybe one day I'll eventually get back into it. Maybe one day I'll get the ADHD medicated and be able to enjoy those games or something. I don't know. All I know is I've went from finding those to be one of my most favourite genres to I genuinely cannot remember the last time I put one on and actually finished it. I can remember the last time I put one on because I did play, oh, what the hell's it called? It was an alternate World War II game where you play as Russians and Polish people. I want to say, I think the Russians were the bad guy side and the Polish side was the good guy side, I think. And you had mechs and stuffs, and it's something like 1912. I really cannot remember the fucking name of it right now. That was the last one I played, and I actually did about a third of the game before I got to the point of the missions were getting like so long. I was really struggling to focus for that length of time, and that was the last one I played. The last one I finished. I'm genuinely okay. I want to say maybe it was Command & Conquer 3. I think I finished 3, but I didn't finish the DLC. Yeah, so, yeah, I'm a real-time strategy fan who hasn't played or finished a game in over maybe 2 decades at this point. Yeah, so yeah, all of that waffle to say, people really do change. And just because you hated something back then, you might actually want to give it a second try. Because I am glad I gave Mario Galaxy 2 another try after all this time. Nothing's changed. Like, it isn't a remake or anything. It isn't like when I finally started to like Resident Evil 4, because all of the gripes I actually have with Resident Evil 4 are still there, but then they did a full remake, and it actually got rid of all of the issues I had with it, and made it so much of a different game that, yeah, it's Resident Evil 4, but it's not Resident Evil 4, and I absolutely love everything about it. This is Mario Galaxy 2. This is basically the Wii game, but in HD, and honestly, if anything, I think the controls might be even worse. Because trying to do motion control stuff with a Pro Controller, and especially trying to play it in handheld mode, if anything, this is kind of a worse version. But I actually ended up having fun with it and enjoying it, and actually, again, I'm never ever going to say it's one of the greatest games of all time. To me, it is kind of just a game, and it's a game that I can say I enjoyed my time with for the first time, instead of saying that I really hated it like I did. So yeah. With that then, I think this very, very waffly video has came to an end, and I'm going to say thanks for watching. I truly do hope you have a great rest of your day, and until next time, I've been Sky Fellowship. Bye!